Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Whenever I talk about paying bills with checks, people make fun of me. They say, Steve, people still do that? You can do that all online now. And especially people in Europe apparently think that paying by check is just so outdated, it's crazy. And, I'm not saying I pay all my bills by check, but occasionally I do write checks. I have a checkbook. I've also gotten for my business, a business checkbook. But here's the deal. Not everything online is safe. I don't know if that's a news flash for some of you or not, but Jim sent me the story. Thousands in North Carolina hit with overdrawn accounts after unauthorized bank withdrawals by mortgage company. So a mortgage company just started withdrawing people's money, and they could because they were set up in a way that allowed them to do that. So stories from WNCN, which I guess is CBS 17, North Carolina. It was a stunning revelation. Thousands of dollars taken from individual bank accounts by a mortgage servicing company in unauthorized transfers, leaving people overdrawn and panicked. And that's what happened over the last 3 days when the company, Mr. Cooper, NationStar, overdrew bank accounts belonging to thousands of people. I actually knew somebody who had an account with Mr. Cooper. And I said, who's your mortgage with? And they said, Mr. Cooper. And I said, does he have a first name? They said, no, that's the name of the company. Company's name is Mr. Cooper? They said, yeah. I said, oh, okay. Homeowners across the country were shocked to see thousands of dollars pulled from their accounts. CBS 17's consumer investigator, Steve Sabraccia, was one of those victims. He woke up Monday morning to find overdraft notices from his bank regarding his checking and savings account because Mr. Cooper, NationStar Mortgage, had pulled out a half a dozen $1,500 payments from his account, which totaled more than $9,400, which left him massively overdrawn, and he was not alone. Now, if you want to make sure that what you do makes the news, do it to a reporter. That's a pro tip. And conversely, if you don't want to make the news, try not to do it to a reporter. But that may or may not work. Calling Mr. Cooper NationStar resulted in a message. You could hear the message. And here's the quote. We are aware some customers are experiencing payment processing issues. We understand how concerning it is to those who are impacted, and we are currently working with banks to have this resolved. Unquote. Now, the message should say, hey, we're sorry, we took a bunch of money from your account we shouldn't have. It really screwed things up for you, and we're trying to fix it right now, but we're having trouble because we're not that good at this. But instead it says, we are aware some customers are experiencing payment processing issues. Yeah, you are experiencing it, but talk about a gross, vague, passive understatement, okay? People took to Twitter. They were outraged. With accounts drained, bills to pay, and no money, people were frustrated and vented on social media. Now, the company says that the victims will be made whole eventually. The company said in a voicemail, unauthorized charges will be corrected, and all customers affected will not be responsible for any fees or other negative financial impact this has caused. Okay, that's what they said in a voicemail. Although Sabraccia's bank was able to reverse the unauthorized withdrawals, it wasn't an instant remedy. It takes time for bank systems to process the updates, leaving thousands of victims without access to cash. So if you do the online banking, which by the way, I also do that. I don't just write checks. I simply have a checking account. But I also have other accounts, and I can put money into the accounts. And like, suppose I get a check from somebody, because I actually get checks from other people too. They're still being used, people. So someone sends me a check. If I want to, I can sign it, drive to an ATM, and put it into the ATM. And then I get the thing back saying you've deposited something into the ATM. I can log on to my bank account on my phone, and it'll say that, yes, you just made a deposit of this amount of money. It's processing. And it depends on what time of day, what day of the week, and so on, as to how long it will remain processing before the money becomes available. Now, this stuff's gotten faster over time. I remember in the old days, you'd put it at the money wall and kiss it goodbye. And it's almost like, some other lifetime you might get the money. But now it's faster, but it's still some time. So if they say, yes, we reversed the charges, and you look at your account, there's a chance it's not going to show. And if you ask them to say, well, it's going to take some time. How much time? Who knows? Like others, Sabraccia wanted to know why it happened, and was the company hacked? So in other words, had they actually done it themselves, or had somebody else done this? He also wanted to know what Mr. Cooper NationStar was doing to make sure it didn't happen again. Their reply said it wasn't a breach, and they blamed a third-party electronic payments vendor. The company claimed everyone would be made whole by the end of the day on April 27th. CBS 17 also wanted to know what they were doing to make sure it didn't happen again. In its response, the company referred to their blog, which had a non-specific answer, claiming that the company was working with their payment vendor to correct the issue and prevent recurrence. There are federal as well as state statutes to protect consumers from unauthorized deductions. The North Carolina Attorney General's office told CBS 17 over 14,000 people in North Carolina were among the nearly 500,000 people affected by the Mr. Cooper NationStar payment withdrawals. They're asking people with complaints to do so online or call a number that's 1-877-5-NO-SCAM. It's toll free. 877-5-NO-SCAM. And here's the problem I have with this, and it's the same problem you're going to have. I'm going to use slightly different language than you because I'm an attorney. And by that I mean legal terms. So if you have money and I take it, that's a problem. That's a legal term for you, a problem. And if you say, Steve, you took my money, and say, oh, here you go, and I give you your money back, is that no harm, no foul? Actually, it's not. It's not. So if I take your money without your permission, that might be considered theft, might be considered embezzlement. And by the way, I did the video not too long ago about the woman who was alleged to have not returned a videotape. And she was charged with embezzlement. People said, why not just theft? And the reason is that she was given the tape willingly by the owner on the promise she would return it. Her failure to return it is not theft. It's embezzlement because it was in her possession legally, but she's alleged to have not given it back. That makes it embezzlement versus theft. That's all. So if somebody has access to your money and they take it, that might be embezzlement also. Or if they weren't supposed to have access to your money, that'd be theft. Now, unfortunately, what's going to happen here is banking regulations and the agreements that people signed with Mr. Cooper are going to say that they have access to your account and blah, 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 blah. And it probably has all kinds of language in it that's going to protect them from being in trouble for this. But as you imagine, if I hacked into your account and took out $1,500 without your permission, that would be a crime. That would be a crime. Now, when somebody who has access to your account legally to take the money out once a month and they accidentally take it out 6 times this month, that's more than just what they're authorized to do pursuant to the agreement. But of course, they're going to say, oh, but there's no criminal intent because it happened accidentally. It was a third-party vendor, blah, 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 blah. But there is a problem here. And anytime somebody does something wrong, even if it's a small wrong they did, if it causes a massive problem that harms lots of people, law enforcement should step in and say, you know something, even though it's just a mistake by a third-party vendor, let's find who made the mistake, or let's find who didn't put the systems in place to prevent the mistake, and let's punish them to make sure it doesn't happen again. Because if I had to guess, if this happened across as many people as they suggest it did, let's see here what the numbers were. 500,000 people. 500,000 people with 14,000 of them in one state. All that money is sitting in someone else's bank account for a while. If they refund the money, they just made a profit because they get to keep the interest. So it's not a victimless crime, obviously. Somebody is benefiting from this, whether it's a crime or not, they're benefiting from it. And it was something they weren't supposed to do. So because they can dress it up and say, well, we understand that some people are experiencing issues and inadvertence and all these other words, doesn't mean it wasn't wrong. So, you check your online balances, a bunch of money's missing, you catch them, and they go, oh, we'll give you the money back. It's not enough. That is not enough. I hope the Attorney General of North Carolina and others step forward and say, you know something? This kind of mistake is inexcusable. Inexcusable in the sense of we're going to make someone pay for it, and someone needs to pay for this. So again, 14,000 North Carolinians had money taken from their accounts, and across the nation, it appears about 500,000 people were victimized by this. And one example was the CBS 17 consumer investigator, Steve Sabraccia, who had his $1,500 mortgage payment withdrawn 6 times in 1 month, leaving him massively overdrawn due to the $9,400 withdrawal that was unauthorized and he wasn't expecting. So it's a crazy story, but again, it's from CBS 17 in North Carolina. Thousands in North Carolina hit with overdrawn accounts after unauthorized bank withdrawals by mortgage companies. It's a crazy story. Jim Sennett, thanks a lot. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Solitude helps you find peace. Peace helps you find happiness.